Unit 4, Reading 1.
People in the 13 British colonies on the east coast of North America often moved west to find new land. This was true for small farmers in the north and owners of slave plantations in the south. Unfortunately, they began to have conflicts with Indian allies of France. These conflicts sometimes turned into larger wars between Britain and France. One war, from 1756 to 1763, was called the 7 Years' War, or the French and Indian War. French Quebec became part of British Canada after this war, but this victory had been very expensive for the British. After 1763, the British government tried to prevent future conflicts by stopping American colonists from moving into Western lands. They also charged new taxes and fees to pay for the war, such as taxes on tea and stamps for official documents. Some colonists became angry and began to protest, sometimes by violently attacking British tax officials. The British sometimes reacted harshly to these protests. In 1770, a group of British soldiers in Boston shot into a protest, killing 5 people. This Boston massacre outraged many colonists. In 1773, a group of tax protesters dressed up like Native Americans and destroyed a load of tea on a ship in Boston Harbor. This was the Boston Tea Party. Although not all American colonists were angry with the British government, many colonists began to discuss independence from Britain. They organized a new government, the Continental Congress. By 1775, it had set up an army of 17,000 men, led by General George Washington, an experienced soldier and slave-owning farmer from Virginia. The Continental Army began fighting the powerful British Army and its supporters in the colonies. The American Revolution had begun. Many important people contributed ideas to the Revolution. For instance, Benjamin Franklin was an inventor, writer, and printer in Philadelphia who promoted the independence of the colonies with his writings and by working as a diplomat in France. Thomas Jefferson was a writer, politician, and slave owner from Virginia who wrote many important documents. One of the documents he wrote was the Declaration of Independence. On July 4, 1776, the Continental Congress used this famous document to declare the 13 colonies to be a new independent nation. The Continental Army had several defeats early in the American Revolutionary War. Problems included a lack of money, supplies, and training. However, the 1777 Battle of Saratoga in New York was an important victory for the Americans. Soon after this victory, France began to help the American colonists in their fight with Britain. The Iroquois Indian nation was soon divided by this war and broke up when different tribes joined different sides. By 1781, the fighting had slowly made the war too difficult for Britain to continue. The remaining British army surrendered to the French and Americans after the Battle of Yorktown in 1781. By 1783, the United States finally became an independent nation and signed a peace treaty with Britain. Some loyal British colonists and some freed slaves left the new country to live in Canada. Creating a new system of government would be the next big job for the new nation. Starting in 1781, these new states had begun to work together through a very weak central government. Collecting taxes and paying war debts were big problems, and some early states even acted like different countries. In February 1787, a special meeting, a constitutional convention, met in Philadelphia to reform the government.